Welcome to Too Deep, Hokies Under the Influence. And it is Virginia Tech. This isn't some rinky-dink-ass program.
Come on, JC.
We're going to put those old guys in the grade. We'll go over some of the stats for the nerds. 2%. 11.
It's an 11 game.
Welcome to Too Deep, Hokies Under the Influence, a Sons of Saturday podcast brought to you by Jack and Coke. You can see that can right on your screen. I've got my co-host, Sam Jesse, here with me. Sam, how you feeling tonight, big boy?
Oh, it has been a long week, but Pete, it's football season. We're in it now. We got like 5 games tomorrow night, man.
I know. I cannot wait for tomorrow night, actually. There's some really fun games on Thursday, fun games on Friday, and into Saturday. And what's cool, I was discussing this with BRM earlier. We don't have to lose on Thursday night and be sad the whole weekend. Like, we can literally watch an entire weekend of college football still optimistic no matter what happens on Sunday.
Yep, pretty much. And I think that is refreshing almost a little bit. And I think it is, like, Tech fans are in kind of a weird situation because as big as this game is, Tech is kind of the one going into it with nothing to lose in a way. So there's this dichotomy of feelings, I think, in the fan base, which make it kind of an interesting lead up to this game. Something that I don't think we've had in years past.
Yeah, I agree. So tonight we're going to go over the depth chart. We're going to preview South Carolina. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to Too Deep on Spotify, as well as the Sons of Saturday channel on YouTube. To get our shows, you want to be subscribed to Too Deep on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. But all of our videos will come through the Sons of Saturday feed as we are a member of the team there. And Gamecock fans, if you're in the comments, I know some of you are watching this.
I know you're in the comments.
Hate watching, trying to get information, whatever it is. Tell us how much we suck. I'm looking forward to it. We've already been hearing it a lot this summer. So make sure to hop in the comments, everyone, and tell us what you think about the video and about the game and all that good stuff. Before any of that, 4 news and notes, before depth chart, Sam, give us a cheers.
My cheers is a preemptive cheers, and it's to the one and only and the legendary Lee Corso, who will have his last college game day appearance on Saturday at Columbus, Ohio, at the Horseshoe. One of the legends of the game, and I saw somebody tweet it or text it. I don't know where I saw it, but they were like, his identity has been putting the mascot heads on. And the whole time, like, he was college football's mascot. Like, he is the quirky, fun reason that we love all of this sport is because of the type of energy that Lee Corso brings to it. So cheers to the absolute legend. There will never, ever be another Lee Corso.
Cheers to that. Yeah, they've had different characters come through college game day, including Pat McAfee, the latest. Could he be the replacement? Well, you're never going to truly replace Lee Corso. And he's been at it a long time. And it's the video that they were showing with him. I think Frank popped up in it, and it was cool, and it'll be a fun season. Anyway, let's get to some news and notes. Starting off with our linebacker, Sam, our number 1 player to know for the 2025 season. Team captain Caleb Woodson charged with DWI this past Saturday night. I will say right off the bat, a team captain getting caught up like this before the season starts, it's a tough look.
Yeah.
The initial reaction from me was, you got to be kidding me. Like, no, God, please no. Like the Michael Scott gif. Because on the football field, we need Caleb Woodson to win games, to beat South Carolina. We need him.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cut and dry. I don't think there's, any argument against that. And I think he is one of those players too, with the way that he plays defense. He's the kind of guy that can go out and make a play that changes a game, right? And so today, Brent Pry didn't confirm or deny that he was playing in the game against South Carolina. We are getting pretty close to kickoff. I think with the way that they have treated availability in all shapes and forms under Brent Pry is that you will not know until kickoff. I think we have a pretty good hunch of what's going to happen. We'll see if that sticks until Sunday.
Yeah. I'm not going to get on a high horse or any kind of morality soapbox because I did a lot of dumb stuff too when I was younger. It's just unfortunate. Like just saying that this event before the season with one of our best players and a team captain, it is unfortunate, something he can learn from. And we've seen a lot of vehicle related incidents with college football players over the past few years. Cough, cough, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And they are dealt with in a variety of ways. I put the thing on X that, Ollie Gordon's DUI charge was punished with 28 week one carries last year.
Yeah, this is something that I think unfortunately has become a lot more commonplace in sports than I feel like it used to be. And with that, I think there becomes a little bit of numbness to it. So they did revoke the captaincy. We should point that out.
He can earn it back potentially.
That's potentially. Yeah. So I think it's, this is something they're going to handle internally. They're going to handle it outside of the media spotlight, and we will see what happens.
Yep. Whether he plays or not is not up to us. It is up to Pry and the staff and those decisions. And we're not going to say one way or the other what we think should happen. Orange uniforms in Atlanta. Thus why I have my orange shirt on tonight. I got the light cranked up behind me. I'm drinking an orange beer. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Waffle House release video. Pretty cool.
That was pretty sick. I love it with Outcast in the background. I think they did a great job with that. I think it's fun. There was a little bit where like uniform reveal videos went away. And I think that was much in a like, oh, you can't do uniform reveal video until you start winning. Just whatever. Just let them have fun. People like it. I think it was a really fun and unique way to go out. And I'm really surprised that they're going with the all orange uniforms in game one. That's really surprising to me.
Yeah, they had the white helmet on, like the VT on the side of a white helmet with stripes. It's a decent look. I've seen a lot worse combinations come out of Virginia Tech.
We've seen a lot worse combinations in Atlanta.
Yes, we certainly have. And since they are a maroon school in some way, scarlet, I don't know exactly. Garnet. Sorry. It makes sense for us to wear our other primary color. And they're also telling people to wear orange to the game. I don't know if I'll follow through on that. I may try to. This is like the only orange shirt I have, so it'll go in the wash after this.
Orange is tough. It's a tough ask. So I will say, do you think that they'll go do you think South Carolina will go white? Will they go black? Will they go garnet?
I've heard some rumors that they're going black.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
Divine Diablo, I think you might have mentioned this, but he is going to be an honorary captain this weekend down in Atlanta. And he's one of those players that no matter what position he was playing at Tech, they always had high hopes for him. And now he's performing in the NFL.
Yeah. The mentioning of Divine Diablo was that Caleb Woodson reminds me a lot of Divine Diablo. So I think it's awesome. He plays for the Falcons this year. He was with the Raiders for a few years, was the signal caller for that defense for a few years. So he's a guy who's carved out a very, very successful NFL career over the past 4 or 5 years or whatever it's been. Pretty awesome to have him as the honorary captain.
The 2 Deep Pick'em is back. I think we're up to 75 people in the Pick'em. It's free to enter. The links are in our Instagram. They're on our X page. And there will be a prize at the end of the year for the winner. We'll kind of go over the standings each and every week within the pod. So it's kind of a fun way to follow along. I've made my picks already, Sam. I've got some picks from the Pick'em that we're going to do at the end of the show to get our opinion on some of the games. But make sure you sign up for the Pick'em if you want to play. And last news and note, we're going to go over our depth chart in just 1 second. But there is no depth chart released from South Carolina. And Shane said he called Pry to tell them that they're not putting one out.
I mean, Tech might as well have not released one. They had "or" next to every single name.
Right.
So it was basically a glorified roster sheet.
But why is Shane calling him, Shane said it's not about gamesmanship. It's to prevent overreactions, which by who? The fans or by the players on your team? There's always a 2 deep that gets put out. Drink.
Oh, yep. Somebody should have told Shane that he could have released the depth chart on TikTok. He might have liked that one.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we don't have one. It absolutely is gamesmanship, no matter what Shane says. And we will move on without it because me and Sam have done the research. We know who to expect to see out there.
how else are we supposed to know who the starting quarterback of South Carolina is, Pete? I have been digging and digging, and I cannot figure out who it is.
Yeah, there's only a handful of players that are, like, rise above the rest. Like, we need to know Dylan Stewart, we need to know Lenore Sellers, and after that, there's guys, but those are the guys.
I kind of alluded to this in the Suns chat like a few hours ago, but like if you're in a position battle with a guy, you're not good enough for the other team to game plan for you. So it does not matter. Like it's whatever.
In the depth chart, we had some offensive line shuffling, and there were some surprising things in our depth chart. And it's always, how much do we take from this? Does this matter? But we saw a completely different lineup in the starting five of the offensive linemen than we've been seeing all summer, than the reporters have been saying they've been seeing all summer. Remak was at left guard instead of right tackle, Laith Ganem at right guard instead of left guard, and then Montavious Cunningham at right tackle. So he goes back to the position that he played at Georgia State, which French nailed the very first time we had him on after we signed Cunningham 2 years ago, that he is a tackle.
The position he was all conference in. That's the position he's playing now. That makes a little bit of sense.
And how about Remak? The same thing. All Big 12 honorable mention last year as a guard. So again, he goes back potentially. We think this is how the starting five will look, but they're still, Price said, they're still working things out. This can be a smokescreen the other way. Like, hey, this is what we're going to throw at you. Like, but it's the same starting five across the board, just mixed up. That's all.
Yeah, and I do think it is interesting that the strength of this Hokies offensive line is on the right side, and that's the one that we saw the shuffle with. I think, too, if you're going to be a team that feels like you're going to run the ball up the middle with the inside zone. Now, I know Virginia Tech has a different offensive coordinator this year, but if you look at what they were really successful with Kyron Drones kind of running the read option RPO or whatever, that's going to lead to an inside zone run. You want to be really strong at the guard position and the center position. So moving your best offensive lineman to that guard position so you can run behind him makes a lot of sense in terms of like, and then this is what we talked about. Montgomery said this since day one, like doing what we do best and focusing on that and not trying to do all the other stuff, like the mistakes that, hurt the team so much last year.
We also think that Remak and Cunningham are our two best offensive linemen. So by putting one on the left side and one on the right side, you kind of spread the wealth a little bit as well. So, and Stewart is going to be, I don't know what side he's going to be coming from. That might move him around, but you're going to need help with that guy. And so now if you kind of spread your guys out, that could be a way to game plan for that as well.
I am really curious how they use Stewart, because he is the type of athlete who you can move around, but just playing a numbers game, if you had him speed rushing every single time, like he's going to win a whole lot of times.
But he also might wear down.
Yeah, he might. Or he might just be a dog.
He might
we
just
don't
be a
like
freaking dog.
He's kind of sweet. So I think that is interesting. There is a little bit of danger, I think, in over game planning for a player sometimes. And Phil Montgomery has, forgotten more about football than you and I know. So I'm going to guess that he has a pretty good idea about how he wants to handle a dominant edge player.
Yeah, we need to just make sure we're ready for adjustments. And that might be what this is about. Getting guys reps in different spots so we can make the adjustments needed when the game starts to get into play. All right, so Muskrat won't travel to ATL. That's the last note on the offensive line I have. He was probably our 7th offensive lineman behind Brody Meadows. So not great to not have him, but hopefully it will not be a factor. But that's the news we got. It's an injury deal. He's not going to Atlanta. Moving to wide receiver, Takai Heath listed as the starting slot in the depth chart, something we hinted at on College Football Monday.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting too is you're seeing him. He was listed right ahead of Cam Seldon. And so I think what you're seeing here is that's your 4 wide. You have Aiden Green and you have Donovan Green. Those are your outside wide receivers. And then in the slots, you have Cam Seldon and you have Takai Heath. That's your 4 wide look. So I think that's what you're going to see. That's what we've seen in practice for the most part when they've been running 4 wide. That's what that means to me. I will be curious to see how they use him, because he's not a very big bodied guy. He's not a contested catch guy, but they love what he does in space. how do they get him into space, I think is going to be really interesting.
And Kyron said, like, he grew up over the summer. He grew up in camp. Like, he has made a huge push post spring to be in this starting lineup. And if nothing else, it means him and Selden are neck and neck here. And that's good to have two potential starting slot receivers.
Yeah, and I think if Aiden Green is your 1A, he's your dog alpha in the wide receiver room. Having Donovan Green as your deep threat on the outside is also great. But then a lot of competition there for the other catches, I think, is really good because, again, if you're going to run tempo and you need to bring fresh bodies in, you need to be deep at wide receiver. You can't have guys can't be running 80% routes out there, or it's not going to work.
At running back, there were a lot of ors, Sam. I think counted 6 running backs on the list. It was just or.
Whoever or is, he's a ball player.
There were 24 ors on the depth chart, which is supposed to be, so get this. A 2D is supposed to have what? 11 players offense, 11 players defense, and then multiply it by 2. So you're at 44. There were 24 ors alone. So it was 34 players for defense and 6 running backs alone. Just like a crazy amount of guys on what's supposed to be a 2 deep.
Yeah. And, in preview pods, we have a tendency to just start listing names sometimes. I'm wondering if that's how writing the depth chart went.
Yeah.
We just kind of started listing names because even when he was asked about the running back rotation, Brent Pry said, we're probably not going to get all of these guys carries. So I think you have your top 2 clearly with Hawkins and Stewart. And then behind them, I think you have Prelu and Bennett. And then those are your next 2. And then after that, Jordan Mason is a guy who they said has had a bit of peaks and valleys over fall camp. So I do think you have the lion's share of the carries will be with those top 2 guys.
And Pry essentially said when he was asked about Stewart and the other starters at running back, like, I just really like our depth. Like, he doesn't seem concerned. Like, he's going to have a handful of guys that can carry the ball in game 1 while some are nursing injuries or whatever. Like, he's not worried. We have depth in that room. And so that's nice to hear. At DB, I just wanted to go over a couple of the ors that surprised me. And that was Dante Lovett and Caleb Brown with the or, because we both are of the opinion, and a lot of people were, that Dante Lovett was far and away CB1.
Caleb Brown is someone who had came in and better every week of camp and really pushed for that spot. So I think that's kind of you could maybe say that outside of Marcellus Hawkins at RB1, which has been somewhat injury related to other guys in that room, Brown playing CB starting over Dante Lovett might be the biggest surprise out of camp.
It's pretty surprising.
It is pretty surprising. Now,
because why wouldn't he? And I know they kind of work one side. So Thomas Williams is the starter on the other side. So, but if Dante Lovett is who we thought was our best, like, why wouldn't it be Lovett and Brown instead? Yeah. But, there's certain sides of the field and maybe they're comfortable. I don't know. Yeah. But that was interesting. Probably called it a coin flip between the two. Not totally sure I buy that. But
another position group that they have hinted that they want to rotate a little bit more.
Yeah. So after that, you got Christian Williams, JoJo Krim, and Joe Reddish as the backup corners. Bass and Coville, the backup safeties. This is a Sam win right here. He's been talking about Bass.
I'm telling you, he's at Virginia Tech. You don't have that many blue chip elite athletes. We have a lot of really good athletes, obviously, but you don't have that many that are jaw dropping. Jordan Bass is one of those guys, and he doesn't help you standing on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You got to get him on the field at some point, and he is a guy who's pushing for it. Now, I definitely see a world where you get him a little bit of run in the month of September, and after those 4 games, you reassess. I think there's a lot of players on this team in the top who are in that 3rd position that I think might be on track for a red shirt while also playing in 2 or 3 games. Jordan Bass is one of those guys, but everything we've heard and seen from this guy in camp is he's got to get out there. He has a lot of pop to his game.
It depends on health too. If we lose 2 safeties in weeks 1 and 2, then he's not getting a red shirt, right?
I mean, that's what happened last year.
Yeah.
I mean, first half of the first game, you lose Stroman at safety, and you have to bring in more guys. Mose Phillips couldn't stay on the field because he had a targeting every other quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, he can't get one every other quarter technically, but it felt like it. And so you can get thin at safety really, really quick.
You can. And at nickel, Cash and Knowledge Harrell are the backups behind IBM, which those guys are safety-ish. So like Cash is, Harrell's more of a corner, and I just think like there's a lot of versatility back here. So depending on who you need, there's just we've seen a lot of names present themselves, and maybe that's to keep certain guys hungry too. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you're on there, like you're right there in the next spot. Maybe it's a motivational factor. At defensive line, it's Bell or Burgos on one side, and it's Jonkum or Fall on the other side. So
Fall is surprising.
yeah, because I would have thought Asen Stevens would be higher up, and he's on there, but just behind them. The other interesting thing with the Jonkum side is that Fall's 288 pounds. Like that's not what we thought was a defensive end. Now it lends credence to having a 3-man front.
Yes, that's what I was going to point out, that I think you will see a 3-4 at some point against South Carolina. And I think you will see probably Gilliam, Fall, and at the middle see Kamari Copeland. And that will be your 3. And then Jonkum and or Bell, one of them on the outside of the strong side, kind of stand up edge player. Yeah. I think that's what you're going to see, because if we move to the linebacker room, Caleb Spencer is a guy that we talked about as in we hadn't heard anything about him. And he got this like weird move to Mike linebacker in the spring that everyone wearing orange and maroon knew wasn't going to work. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy who's still like on this, gosh, we're going to do it every time, but like on this 2 deep, he's there.
He's there, but at a position that are we even going to play that position?
I don't know. I genuinely do not know.
It's SLB. It's listed as SLB, which I'm not sure is star linebacker or Sam linebacker, but regardless, it's the 3rd linebacker spot, which we thought we were getting rid of. And there's also a nickel on there. So there's 12 defensive positions on the defensive 2 deep.
Maybe that's Sam Cephas's big strategy. Maybe that's how he won the interview. It was like, wait, what if we played with 12 players?
What if we just do 12 guys the whole time?
It's a good idea.
But yeah, I kind of took that SLB position and just like put it to the side, because we've literally heard nothing about it. Like nothing.
No, we haven't. That one was weird.
Did you also notice that Caleb Woodson was listed at middle linebacker, and that, which I kind of thought he was playing Will, but I never, like, I know that we're basically playing 2 inside linebackers, so it really doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But like, I always thought Keller was the Mike and Woodson was the Will. And maybe that's what it was last year. But now on this chart, it's the opposite.
What percentage likelihood that it's a typo?
It could be a typo.
What percentage? I'm not saying it is, but what percentage? And also
it just doesn't matter. Like,
I mean, this is it
matters for the scheme and everything, but it doesn't matter to us.
So and only college football coaches could be this paranoid, but pre-snap, one of the things that is called out usually by the center and or quarterback, if he sees it, is where the Mike linebacker is, because that's how you can kind of adjust a strong side and weak side of a defense, and if they're over or if they're under. And maybe flipping the guy who you put as Mike, you're thinking we might screw him up a couple of times. I don't know, but only a college football coach.
Now that would be some next level.
That would be next. And I hope, like, Lenore, everything we've heard about Lenore Sellers is that he's not that stupid. So
yeah, and
who knows, man.
True. Also, we should note that Woodson got the oar. And the only reason that Woodson got an oar is because of what happened Saturday night, because we know he's a starter.
Yeah, that is
Anyway. All right. So we already talked about 12 positions. I talked about 34 total defenders listed, which would be a 3 deep, because that's 33 plus 1. So technically it'd be a 3 deep. And also of note, 4 true freshmen on the 2 deep that contained over 50 players. Snoke Peterkin, DT, Christian Evans, Jojo Krim, and Knowledge Harrell, who we already talked about in the DB room. Kyron talked to the press, and these are the last couple things we'll do before we get to South Carolina. I promise we're getting there. On Caleb, he said, everyone makes a bad decision here and there. He got caught up. We'll have his back no matter what. He said he's super comfortable with the offense. He also said he liked that Monty played the QB position, which is probably the best quote because he said, my last two offensive coordinators were offensive linemen.
I mean, his last quarterback coach was an offensive lineman. Like it did make sense. It didn't work. I do feel like there was a lot of worry in this program about him missing the second half of spring ball with the surgery. He doesn't seem the least bit worried about it.
No.
And I do think there is a quiet confidence and a quiet drive about him right now. And you can kind of tell with how he's presented himself at media days, with how he's presented himself during fall camp. He feels very, very confident and very comfortable in this offense.
He does. And the last thing I had on here was Gilliam. Just his talk was he strikes again, man. Like when he talked at ACC Media Day, he was great. This was great. He's very confident in himself and his teammates. He said it's going to be a 4-quarter fist fight down in Atlanta. And he got me believing, man. I'm not going to recite what he said word for word, but go watch his media availability from a couple days ago and it'll get you fired up.
He's the kind of leader that I think Virginia Tech has been somewhat starved for in the last, gosh, I don't know, 7 years.
I think
now.
Fuga tried to get there, and he had that one speech after Rutgers, which I thought was really good. But like Gilliam seems just like a different presence.
Mm-hmm. He does, and I think having him be a Virginia guy and come back to Virginia Tech, and I think last year he was part of such a good unit for Virginia Tech, and now he's leading that unit. It just feels very organic as well, and I think that leads a lot of credence to when a guy like that says stuff. And I don't think motivation will be an issue with this team. We certainly know this is not a program that quits on games or, throws their hands in the air. I mean, we have, say what you want about what we've seen under Brent Pry. We have not seen that at all. And I feel really good about this team's mentality going into this game. I don't know how much that changes the score, but
despite the week 0 antics,
despite the week 0 antics, it could always be worse, Pete. It could always be
worse.
I
just saw a story. I was looking at that. Like, it could always be worse. There was like some LSU player that had a murderer living in his dorm room or something like absolutely crazy.
Yeah. It could be worse.
All right. Two Deep Hokies Under the Influence is brought to you by Jack and Coke. 2 legends, 1 can, Jack and Coke, the #1 cocktail in the world, is now available in a can. Yes, it's true. Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey mixed with Coca-Cola or Coca-Cola Zero Sugar are available in a can at your local grocery and convenience stores. They also have the Jack and Coke Vanilla, the Jack and Cherry Coke, Jack and Ginger, and and they're selling some of those in a mix pack now. I think you get the vanilla cherry and the regular in a mix pack, and they also have the Jack and Blackberry, which is either out now or coming out in September. So a lot of good varieties of Jack and Coke. They are delicious. Sam did a little game prediction last week with Jack and Coke in hand. 2 legends, 1 can, Jack and Coke ready to drink. And make sure when you drink to always drink responsibly. That's something we want to focus on tonight, especially. All right, South Carolina, the Aflac, pardon me. South Carolina, the Aflac Kickoff Classic. Hard for me to say. Hopefully it's easy to watch for Hokies fans. The Cocks versus the Gobblers, a combination that normally goes together, but in this case, they will be at odds.
not this year. This is a game that I think a lot of people have been looking forward to, just the matchup of these two schools. I know, being from Virginia, South Carolina is one of these Southern schools that a lot of kids from Virginia end up going to. So I'm sure there's a lot of friendly rivalries for this game, certainly. And I think it's just 2 programs that match each other really well. Rowdy fan bases, great home environments, a lot of pride, a lot of classic coaches. I think it's a really fun matchup and one that I would love to see a home and home with them.
Yeah, it would be awesome to have it home and home. Yep. But as it stands, we're going to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, 3 p.m. on ESPN this Sunday, SEC versus ACC. What a great matchup. What a great way to get your team focused and ready for game 1 by playing a big-time team. This isn't ODU, which we've struggled with, don't get me wrong. But the motivation is different than even playing Vanderbilt last year. Because Vanderbilt wasn't Vanderbilt yet.
I remember talking it was a few years ago, and I was in a beginning of fall camp press conference, and it was Terrell Edmonds. Excuse me, Terrell was speaking. And I asked him about, hey, playing West Virginia week 1, does that change what you're doing? I mean, rivalry game. West Virginia was had a lot of hype going into that season. Another neutral site game, another rivalry game. Like, what are you thinking about that? And he said, a classic kind of football guy answer to start. Oh, we don't care who it is. We're going to be all that stuff. And then as it went on, he did say, we understand we need to be at our best game 1. And that's not always the message heading into football seasons. I think that's very, very true.
I think it would have changed last season if we had played a ranked opponent right away. I really think it would have changed. Mm-hmm. It could have changed the season altogether. Maybe not. But if you are in the locker room all summer going up against a team that you're not favored against and you're not expected to beat, I think it changes the preparation. I just think it's human nature to get complacent when you think you're going to beat a team. And that West Virginia game you just mentioned, our last Power 5, Power 4 out of conference win.
Pete, you want to know how long that was ago?
It was a long. You were in school.
I couldn't legally drink.
Oh God,
that's how long ago that was, Pete.
Jeez Louise, man. I had such a vicious hangover the day after that West Virginia game, in the best way, because we had won and it was great.
That was a great day for me. I went back to my best friend's house and we ordered pizza and we watched the Katy Perry movie. It was pretty hype.
Yeah, sounds incredible.
It was pretty awesome.
All right, South Carolina, coached by Shane Beamer.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds familiar. 29-22 through his 4 years, 15-17 in SEC play. A Hokie alum is Shane, the son of the great Frank Beamer. If you don't know that, you have obviously been living under a rock, but that's who he is. Former member of the football staff as well with the Hokies in the mid-teens of the 2000s. It was 2011 to 2014, something like that. He was an assistant head coach. He actually won us the Military Bowl, the very shirt I'm wearing right now, in 2014 because Frank was having surgery or had just had surgery.
Yep.
And this storyline of Virginia Tech, the place his father put on the map versus the son who is now making a name for himself and shooting up the coaching ranks, it's huge. A lot of focus, a lot of pressure on Shane. And not only in this game, but to live up to sky-high expectations for this season.
Yeah, I mean, he has expectations on himself that go beyond just his dad being a Hall of Fame coach. And that's pretty cool for him to see. And we always like to see our own succeed. And I think he is doing so in his own way with his own character, which is great because he's helped build a brand at South Carolina, a program that has struggled to gain traction in the SEC. Now seems to be gaining a lot of traction, not only in the SEC, but nationally. So it's awesome to see him succeeding. I tweeted this out probably a month ago. He had a quote from a press conference about, playing Virginia Tech. And I point out, I can't imagine the emotion he feels about this game. He's not going to let it show because he's a professional, but that has to be a crazy, crazy feeling for him internally. I don't know if that's something that he's going to project out to his players because, his players would never get it. They're not in that position. But internally, he's got to be feeling the weight of the world with this matchup.
Certainly. And that was very well said. And secondly, this game represents a giant opportunity for Virginia Tech as a football program and Brent Pry. A signature win could go a super long way in restoring the faith in the coach, the program, everything. So you called it an opportunity game several weeks back when we did our summer preview, and truer words were never spoken. This is a giant opportunity.
Yeah. I don't think there has been an opportunity like this. I mean, the Miami game last year was huge and the team responded for sure. I mean, they definitely responded, but under Brent Pry, there really hasn't been a matchup like this.
And, drawing on that Miami game experience could be something excellent for this team to do because the most important guy on the field, Kyron Drones, was there. And a major reason why they nutted up and played well in that game because we were struggling last season before we went down to Coral Gables or wherever they play.
Yeah, I still don't know what area of Miami they play in, but yeah, the Tech looked bad. Like we were in like 4-8 territory going into that game, and you had just lost to Rutgers and looked terrible doing it. And now it was on a Friday night as well.
It was.
And you come out and look like that. I again, like I'll go back to it. Like there is no way that Virginia Tech is not mentally ready to play this game. No way.
You think they're focused and ready?
They're focused and ready. It's no doubt in my mind. None.
This past weekend notwithstanding, I'm sorry. I can't not think about it.
I mean,
and I'm not laughing about DWI.
Maybe
I'm laughing about the absurdity of our number one player to know
this is
doing that the week before the game.
This is what it feels like to be a Cleveland Browns fan, Pete.
Well, let's hope they are that. In all honesty, we heard something about the bars. We heard about the DWI. Like, maybe this is a refocus moment. Maybe it's like, this can all go away real fast, guys. Like, you better get your shit together because we got an important game this weekend. Yeah. We can only hope. The history of this matchup, something we didn't really talk about over the summer. This is kind of a throwback game, Sam. They've played 20 times, us in South Carolina. They lead the series 11-7-2, 2 ties. And from 1986 to 1991, we played every year. And after I heard that, I was like, it is kind of weird we don't play them just like a little bit more often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. I think, when Virginia Tech moved to the Big East, you had, I think a lot of the regional rivalries moved up north with it. So you had obviously West Virginia and UVA, who are north of Virginia Tech, but then you also got annual games against Pittsburgh. How many years in a row did Virginia Tech play Boston College before that got broken off? Like, I think a lot of the annual games moved up north with the Big East. And then when they moved back to the ACC, it never really changed at all. Yeah. We still were playing Pitt and Boston College and UVA, and then sprinkled in a few West Virginia here and there. But I think the Virginia Tech very much became a mid-Atlantic North football team in a scheduling sense, and just never really got to the South unless it was like this game in Atlanta, in a more marquee corporate matchup, I guess.
Yeah, because this isn't some kind of homegrown like, hey, let's get together and play. Like it's Aflac put this thing together because we want to play West Virginia, we want to play Tennessee. Hell, we've never even played Penn State. So in some ways, it is surprising we don't play South Carolina, but there's a lot of freaking regional teams to play. But anyway, our last meeting was in 91. South Carolina won by a touchdown. That was Frank Beamer's 5th year at Virginia Tech. This is Shane Beamer's 5th year at South Carolina. So there's some kismet going on here with that. I thought that was kind of a cool nugget. In 2024, South Carolina was 9-4, 5-3 in the SEC, but they were only 3-3 before winning 6 straight to end the regular season. They beat 2 ranked teams in that stretch, Mizzou and Clemson. Close losses to LSU and Bama early. Like, they were a very close team to the college football playoff, to being an elite team, despite some early year falters. And they were in the playoff conversation even at 9-3 late because they were playing really, really well. They've gained the most turnovers in the SEC since 2021. They've blocked the most kicks in the SEC since 2021. And because of that success, because of what Shane Beamer has accomplished, primarily last year, kind of turning that corner, the hype train is nearly off the rails. It is wild. And I'm not saying that some of it's not deserved, but I think it's reached such a fever pitch that it helps Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think it would be tough to spin it in another way. Like, we see this every year in college football. Heck, it was us last year. Now, maybe not, top 15 in the country, but Virginia Tech is like, oh, we've been here before, but on the other side. And so I think that kind of helps Virginia Tech because, again, last year, it really felt like in only one game was Virginia Tech in the underdog role. And that was probably the best game they played all year against Miami. And then the year before they didn't really have games of this opportunity, right? And so I think it is really, really important that Tech harnesses that going into this game. And if you can get the uh-ohs going for South Carolina early, maybe that's an intangible key to the game for Virginia Tech.
Going back to why they're so hyped would be Lenore Sellers, potentially the best quarterback in college football. He's on the Heisman's list. He's on every, quarterback watch list there can be. Him and Dylan Stewart were both first team All SEC, according to the SEC media. Stewart was preseason first team All American just about everywhere. AP, Sporting News, ESPN, Athlon, everywhere. And in all conference, they also have Kilgore and an offensive lineman on there, Trayvon Ball. And I said this over the summer too. It's rare to play a team where they might have 2 first overall picks on their roster.
It's pretty rare. And you look down,
and that's going to be hard to do. But not many teams can say they even have the potential.
Yeah, and if you look at position group by position group, they have question marks, but not necessarily weaknesses. Like there's no point in this South Carolina roster where I go like, oh, that's an area Virginia Tech can attack. There are certainly areas where you're like, I don't know how good they're going to be. Like defensive front 7. I know they're going to be good. I don't know if they're going to be elite like they were last year, which they were one of the top, a top 5, top 3 defensive front 7 last year.
I
would say
top
them
5 for sure, maybe
them,
top 3, yeah.
Them Texas and Ohio State and maybe Penn State in there. Like they were pretty great. And I don't know if they're going to be to that level. Does that mean they're not going to be good? Of course not. They're going to be good. Defensive backs. They lost one of the best defensive backs in the draft. Does that mean they're not going to be good at defensive back? No, they're going to be pretty good, but are they to the same level that they were last year? And I think that's their question marks are a little different than our question marks.
Well, but in some ways, Sam, like the structure of these teams is so similar. Like we both lost a lot. We both have these returning, mobile, strong as an ox quarterbacks with cannons for an arm. We both have new offensive coordinators. We both think about the guys we lost on defense to the draft. They lost 5 guys on defense, or at least 4 on defense to the draft, and an additional one. All 5 of them might have been from defense, but regardless, they lost a ton. They had 11 guys at the combine this past year. The most. I don't think South Carolina's ever had that many at the combine.
No, but definitely not. And they are last year was a special year for them talent-wise. I think it all came together and all of those players were old, which is important. Now, they were able to backfill with some transfers and they've recruited very well over the last couple cycles. So there's some guys coming up in the ranks that we don't know about necessarily. But again, you don't see a lot of weaknesses in this team. It's just, are they going to be as good as they were last year? That's the question. I think if there's one position group that you're they're probably not very good here, it's pass catchers. I'm not Harbor has more potential than maybe any wide receiver not named Jeremiah Smith in the country, but they're not very proven there. And they're not proven there. They offensively, and they get the running back from Utah State, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a sec, but they kind of need Lenore Sellers to be Heisman caliber in order for them to reach the goals that they want to reach with this team.
Yeah, well, their goals in terms of what I said about Shane having expectations, their goals are college football playoff. Their goals are SEC championship.
Their goal is best season in school history.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had a really damn good season last year. So building on that, after losing as much as they did, you need Sellers to put on the cape a lot this year. And we're going to get to why in just one second. Their new OC that I mentioned, Mike Shula, he hadn't worked in college football since 2006. Before, it's not like he was not in football. He was at a lot of NFL teams. He was with the Panthers when they had Cam Newton, which obviously had some success there. But then he bounced around quite a bit. When he was in college, he was the head coach of Alabama back in 2006. That's a really freaking long time ago. And it's kind of crazy that he was the head coach of Alabama. But he has, because he was there as an offensive assistant, they have been talking about how his promotion to offensive coordinator when Loggins left has been pretty seamless, right? Same quarterback, same offense for the most part. Maybe a few new things are being installed. They've talked a little bit about the passing game and it getting better, but for the most part, it's been a smooth transition. But nevertheless, it is a change, and it's a guy who hasn't directly coached college athletes in quite a long time. So it's something to watch. On offense, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's interesting because I don't think you'll see too much of a schematic difference. I don't think you'll see too much of a playbook difference. I think what you will see a difference in is potentially tempo and potentially, the audibles and checks that they do at the line could be different. Now, I don't know if you pick that up in game one as much. I think you need a larger sample size to really gather that, but there will be very small, detailed differences. But in terms of like playbook, in terms of scheme, I think everybody knows kind of what they want to do.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things we haven't even really talked about is them losing Rocket Sanders and what that means for this offense, because he was
really good player,
vital last year. 1,100 plus total yards and 13 total touchdowns. They also lost the tight end Josh Simon, who had 7 touchdowns. No other player had more than 3 touchdowns other than Sellers last year. I'm talking about skill players here. So you bring Sellers back, who did have a sensational season. It wasn't perfect, and he had an injury here or there, but 36th in QBR, 17th in passer rating in the country. So actually a better passer in terms of just straight up passing the football than as an overall quarterback, according to those two metrics. I'm not saying that's true. It's just his QBR was lower than his passer rating, which I found to be a little surprising with how much QBR factors in the running. Mm-hmm. The hype on him comes from the tools, right? He's got all the tools and he's had success and he can do a little bit of both. And so I get the hype, but he had 11 fumbles last year. He took a ton of sacks. South Carolina was 121st in sacks per game allowed last year. They lost a lot of yards on sacks.
So that's
and Bud Elliott said, and this is the last thing I'll say, when he's bad, he's pretty bad.
I mean, that's from an NFL scout perspective. He has a little bit of Shedeur Sanders in him, where his floor is like, you can't win with it floor. The thing is, his ceiling is way on up there, and that's what you're hoping for as you get older, more mature quarterback. That we rate. It's not as much about raising the ceiling as it is raising the floor, right? But you talked about those negative plays. Have we talked about havoc percentage?
You mentioned it.
I'm not talking about VCU defense here, full court press. I'm talking about like these are plays like turnovers, but they're also sacks, tackle for loss, hurries, things like that, like creating havoc. South Carolina's offense ranked 112th in the country in havoc allowed. That was worse than Virginia Tech was last year. And to put it bluntly for the South Carolina fans, our offensive line got pushed back into Kyron's lap so hard it hurt him twice. So
we had an awful line in pass protection.
And South Carolina is replacing some interior offensive linemen this year. I believe all 3 of their interior offensive linemen. So they need to get better in those type of plays because those can be game changers. I mean, those can be big time game changers. And this is not, if there's one area on the field where I'm like Virginia Tech has the position versus position group advantage, it's South Carolina's offensive line versus Virginia Tech's defensive line. I think Tech's defensive line might have the advantage in that matchup.
And that is
got to take advantage of
it. It's the chink in the armor. Like that's the only thing that I'm really seeing on both sides of the ball that we may have, like that could be the avenue because we need to get to Sellers. And we'll go into our keys to the game a little bit later. You mentioned Faison. He is cleared. The NCAA cleared him. We knew it was going to happen. 1,100 rush yards last year, 5.6 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns at Utah State. He is a tackle breaker. He does not fumble. I don't think he's like the most high-end running back of all time. I think it's really nice that they got him back for them. He adds to their depth. And Attaway, he's decent. I think Faison's a little bit better, but those are probably your 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
And like I do worry about the tackle breaking. Now it happened in the Mountain West, but we got to tackle. We got to make sure we bring him down.
A lot of his yardage was against Wyoming, who was terrible on defense last year. Temple, New Mexico. He did have a big game against Boise State, but Boise State pulled their starters at halftime. So asterisks there. So he ran for a lot of yards, had a lot of big games against some not great competition. That's not to say that he isn't a very good running back. And I mean, gosh, he's like 24 years old at this point.
25.
So 25, like goodness gracious, dude. It is kind of crazy. So there's, I mean, that is a factor here in this matchup. So
it is. You mentioned Nick Harbor too.
Good, but yeah, Nick Harbor is an athletic freak.
Super fast, but this was the first year that he is focusing primarily on football and not track. And so they're excited about that full off season of working with the football team. They're counting on him, as you said, to be that dude. They also have Mazeo Bennett, Jared Brown, but the freshman Brian Rowe could really factor in. He's a 4-star. Lots of talent, like young talent at that wide receiver position. But between Bennett, Brown, Rowe, Harbor, they're going to piece something together. But I don't think it's quite as good as what they had last year. Harbor did come on late last season, though. I will say that.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy who you can he'll run a lot of little crossing routes right in front of the line of scrimmage and just run away from guys. I'll be curious to see if Tech goes heavy zone in this game to try to not ask somebody to keep up with his speed if they try to go a little more zone. Also to keep eyes on Lenore Sellers as a running quarterback, because I think when we'll get to our further breakdown and predictions of this game, Virginia Tech cannot allow the 9-yard scrambles on 3rd and 8.
No,
like that'll be the killer in this game, and Tech won't have a chance. So
I'm seeing the Clemson game in my nightmares from last year. Like not our Clemson game when he went up against Clemson because he ran for 166
Look,
yards.
I gotta say, Tech's tackling will be better than Clemson's was that day. That was one of the most pathetic efforts I have ever seen of tackling.
Yeah.
So
they also have Jordan Dingle and Michael Smith at tight end who could provide them some catches and some plays in this game. Dingle will be someone to watch. He comes over from Kentucky. Overall on offense, if Sellers takes the step, they could be better on offense than last year. He needs to take a step, but they could be better, despite Sanders being difficult to replace. Sellers was underrated as a passer. I want to make that clear that I am saying as a Tech fan, he's underrated as a passer. I'm not saying he cannot pass.
I heard you said that he couldn't throw a tennis ball into the ocean. That's what I heard.
And then you add his running on top of that. Like he is dangerous. Like I think so much of the hype is warranted. I just think it's gotten a little overdone.
It has a little bit, but this is sports. This is what we do, Pete. And I also think it is, again, he's not going to pick you apart throwing the ball. He's also not going to Lamar Jackson you. He's going to do a little bit of both. And this is not a team that was elite throwing the ball last year. I mean, they were 45th in expected points added per dropback. They were around, teams like Coastal Carolina and Jacksonville State are teams that they were around, adjusted for opponent. So they were not a big time throwing team, but it's not like you can sell out on the run. I mean, you absolutely cannot do that. He's too good, and they do have playmakers on the outside. Are they proven great playmakers at Ohio State's wide receiver core from last year? Is it LSU's? No, but it's good enough to hurt you. And if you're Virginia Tech and you're replacing your 2 corners from last year, it's a little bit scary.
At 6'5", 235, I fear what Nick Harbor could do if he puts it together. Like, I fear that.
It's almost like you created a player in the college football video game.
Dude, it's insane. Because he's not only 235, he's the fastest guy on their team, basically. Like, it's ridiculous.
Absurd.
All right, let's take a quick break to talk about Rowback before we move to the defense. You guys know Rowback, the performance activewear designed for those who crave activity. They put out the Sandman, the new polo. They also have the fresh white hoodie, as well as the fresh white quarter zip. So many new things coming out from them. They also just added a bunch of schools. I think JMU just got on there, or maybe not new schools, but new gear for schools. So even if your wife or your significant other went to a different school, you can find it on Rowback. They're offering our listeners 20% off using code 2DEEPVT, all one word, 2DEEPVT. And dude, I have so many Rowback polos and they're so great. I'm probably going to bring one down to Atlanta. Although I did wear a Rowback polo last year the night before the game and we didn't win. I'm very superstitious, so
dude,
I might not.
I wore a Roback polo at the game and we lost. So maybe it's our fault.
It could be our fault, but that's not the Polo's fault. They are extremely comfortable. They kept us cool in the hot weather in Nashville. And I've got the Lane Stadium one and I've got the Commonwealth, and I love them both. I've also got an Eagles one. But they have hoodies, the tees, quarter zips, joggers, and of course, every polo you could imagine. So use code 2DVT for that 20% off Roback Crave activity. Sam, are you drinking anything? You got a beer over there?
Oh yeah, we got a great beer tonight.
All right.
Want to hear about it? This is the peanut butter brown ale. It is a Suffolk, Virginia classic. If you don't know, Suffolk, Virginia is the peanut capital of the world, home of Planters Peanuts, Hubs Peanuts, not far away. Our very own Whitley's Peanuts. The official peanuts of Sons of Saturday and of the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Hell yeah.
This beer is brewed by Nansman Brewing Station, which is a small microbrewery in Suffolk, Virginia, who does a ton of great beer. Like if you see anything Nansman Brewing Station, they got a little, I'll put it up here to the camera, but it's a cool little train logo. They do a really, really good job. And this is their signature. You will find it on tap at some beers down here in the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach area. It almost has a like bourbon barrel flavor to it, with hint of dry roasted peanut butter. It's really smooth. It's a really unique flavor. It smells great. And it's not you don't drink 4 of these, like you drink 1. I think it's a great beer to have like in a flight as well, because it's pretty heavy, but it's a really unique and cool beer.
It does sound like a perfect flight beer. And I love a brown ale. Does it taste, do you get a little bit of that peanut butter taste?
Yeah,
or peanut taste.
You know, it's definitely peanut butter.
Okay,
then peanut. Yeah, it is. It is definitely peanut butter.
I am drinking the Julius from Treehouse. I've had this on the pod before, but because it's orange, because we're wearing orange this weekend, I had to drink the Julius. It's one of my favorite beers, if not my favorite beer when it comes to IPAs that's out there. I mean, it is just so thick and hazy. It's not for everyone, not for the faint of heart, but man, one sip and you will be hooked on this stuff. Just even bodied. I think it's at a 4.25 or something on Untapped. Has just a ridiculous score. And I'm not going under that. I'll give it a 4.5. Like I said, it's probably my favorite IPA that I've had consistently more than once, because sometimes you have one and it was, in Colorado and you don't get it regularly. I've had this probably once a year the last few years, and it is awesome. The Julius from Treehouse, I would recommend it. A New England IPA in its purest, finest form.
I'll give this one a 4, mostly because of how well they executed it and how culturally like on point it is for this area of the state. Like they really executed this very well.
That's legit. On South Carolina's defense, they were, as you said, sensational last year across the front, across the back end, 12th in scoring D, 14th in yards per play, 13th in rush yards per carry, and 21st in opposing passer rating. They've got a really good DC in Clayton White. He returns. Unfortunately, we did get the bad news about their defensive line coach who was hospitalized after a car accident. We hope he's all right.
Yeah.
But the defense was disgusting last year.
Yeah.
Kyle Kennard came over from Georgia Tech, became an All-American. Stewart was a freshman and just blew up. And they had guys like Emanwari, Knight, Bam, Debo, TJ Sanders on the defensive line, Fortune in the DB position, and Tonka Hemingway also at DT. So they were loaded. 6 of their top 8 TFL guys, though, Sam, are gone. Mm-hmm. All those guys I just mentioned are gone. And that is what's very good for Virginia Tech. Now, they've been recruiting at a good level, and you would have a good beat on that more so than I do. But replacing that amount of NFL talent, which it was 5 defenders all on defense that got drafted, is going to be difficult.
Yeah, it definitely will. And they have recruited very well. They've used the transfer portal well, especially in the linebacker room. Now, they do have question marks there because those are guys who were highly touted out of high school, didn't immediately hit, and now are trying to kind of recycle again. So those are always question mark players, right? So we'll see what we get out of their linebacking core, but they're going to be very good on defense. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to paint it that they won't be very good. I think the question is, are they as elite as last year, or if they fall off, how big is the fall off?
Yeah.
I personally, if I'm disregarding this game and I'm looking at the whole season, I think they probably take a bit more of a step back than they did last year, because I think they did have a bit of lightning in a bottle with that defense. But I don't think they're going to be a defense that you can score like multiple drives in a row. I don't think you score like 17 points in 3 drives versus this defense. It's going to be tough sledding.
They're going to be solid because they literally have an All-American at one of the defensive end spots in Dylan Stewart. I mean, he's getting compared to Clowney, which is probably aggressive, but he was really good last year. 10.5 TFL, 6.5 sacks, 4 hurries, 3 forced fumbles, and a PBU.
And that's the thing, Pete. I mean, they force a lot of turn. They were active last year on defense.
But can he repeat that production without Kyle Kennard, without Tonka Hemingway, without TJ Sanders helping him out? That's what I want to see.
Yeah. And if he can produce what he did last season as the number 1 edge rusher that everyone's game planning on, congratulations, you're a top 3 pick in the NFL draft.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, congratulations. But that's a big ask, and it's a pretty rare thing. Like, we don't see that a lot. And I
mean, Clowney was the number 1 overall high school recruit, and he could have gone to the NFL as a freshman. We all knew that. Yeah. That is rare. Mm-hmm. Stewart is amazingly good. I'm not trying to say he's not good. It's just that he played next to so many good players last year who are not there anymore. And so who's replacing them? Brian Thomas, senior defensive end. He was a player last year too. 4.5 sacks, 6.5 TFL. He had a good spring. He's had a very good offseason. So I expect Brian Thomas to be there. But the transfer they got from Mizzou got nicked up. I don't think he's going to be around in our game.
I don't think so either, no.
They do have Brownlow Dinty, who is a big fat boy right in the middle, 6'3", 310. He'll be tough to deal with. But I don't know if it's the same as what they had in Kyle Kennard and those other 2 guys.
Yeah, and on the backside of this defense, Jalen Kilgore, who plays nickel corner. I mean, he's just a football player. They put him at nickel, but he's just a football player. He's very, very good as well. They are old in the back. Now, they aren't. I think it's almost like a strength of this defense because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts type thing. There's so much experience back there. Kilgore is the headliner, but they have a lot of other guys who are good as well. I don't think this is you're not smiling and saying we're going to throw for 350 on this team. You're not at all. I don't know if they are total lockdown, kind of like a Texas defensive back room was last year, but very, very good. And again, very aggressive going for turnovers. It has worked for them. It worked for them really well last year. They only ended up +3 in turnover margin last year. And I think that was because Lenore Sellers was a turnover machine for the first few games. But this defense, I think you said it earlier, one of the best in the SEC, if not the country, in forcing turnovers.
They have forced the most in the SEC since 21.
Yeah.
Now, they turned the ball over a lot themselves, I think, last year, but that's beside the point. The secondary is strong to quite strong, is what I would say. You said they were veterans, and you're right. They brought Cisse over from NC State. They have DQ Smith. They have Collier and Kilgore.
Cisse is a question because I wasn't wowed by him at NC State, but he was one of big transfer portal.
He was a 4-star guy, yeah.
Okay. I don't know about that one.
In the linebacking core, they're relying on replacements because this area of the team is rebuilt. J.R. Johnson, Fred J.R. Johnson figures to be a factor. Young 4-star from Norfolk, one that got away for us. He appeared in all 13 games last year, but he didn't break out because they had so many guys. This is the breakout for him. That's what they're expecting. And then outside of him, it's Sean Murphy. It's J.O. I think they affectionately call him. I can't Aquaro or something like that. But they got dudes. Like they got dudes that can play linebacker, but it's not Knight. It's not Bam. Like, so that's also good. I think they're going to be serviceable. How good will they be game one? That's all I care about. So, and I hope it's not good. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah. I mean, that's that is like key to the game for Virginia Tech is be more prepared than South Carolina. And that sounds kind of stupid and kind of dumb, but like, if you really look at what this team was last year, I mean, they should have lost to Old Dominion last year at home to start the season. They started the season 3-3. Like that defense gave up a lot of points at the beginning of last year to LSU. This is maybe not a great first half of the season team. Historically, they have not been against Shane Beamer. What South Carolina do you get? Do you get the first half of last season or do you get the second half of last season?
Well, and I'd ask the listeners this, whether you're from South Carolina, Virginia Tech, or somewhere else, they were 6th in sacks per game last year, was South Carolina, which the previous few years was way better. The year before last year, Sam, so 2023, I think they were in the hundreds in sacks per game. I think they had 21 on the entire season. They had 41 last year. So they doubled their sack total. Why? Because they took a transfer in Kyle Kennard, who was better than they ever expected. And they had Stewart come out of nowhere too and kick ass. And it was just, like you said, lightning in a bottle. So do they revert back to what they've been under Shane Beamer and Clayton White, which is 20 sacks, 25 sacks, 30 sacks? Or do they get back to 41, 42, 45 sacks?
Yeah. And if you're Virginia Tech, it's like, okay, how do we make sure that we're not the team that leads to that? Right. Because they can get to 45 sacks in the season. I don't care as long as it doesn't happen against Virginia Tech. And, this offense, I think this offense for Virginia Tech is going to be good this year. I think they're going to be better than last year, to be honest with you. I don't know if they are good enough to overcome a great defense, if that makes sense.
I would say that last year, Kyle Kennard was Corey Moore. Like, it's not an exaggeration to say that Kyle Kennard, who was the Nagurski winner, a consensus All-American, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, that he had a Corey Moore in 1999 type season.
Yeah, he did.
Have we had a Corey Moore since then?
Probably not. Dude, I mean,
we've had some good players.
APR had a lot of sacks last year.
He had 16 sacks, yes.
He had 16 sacks last year. And that's something that Virginia Tech, if we're going to flip this, right, we have to say it the other way. Virginia Tech has to find a way to pressure Lenore Sellers because Lenore Sellers will give up sacks and he will commit turnovers under pressure.
I was just trying to emphasize how special their defensive line was last year. It was
insane.
Special. It's not to say it's not going to be good this year, but it is to say that I don't think it's going to be as good. And I think just about anyone else, if they're being honest, would say the exact same thing. Let's move to special teams before we give our overall thoughts. Shane Beamer, who knows special teams, new punter, new kicker, new kickoff specialist, new holder, new snapper, new punt returner, new kickoff returner. It's a total makeover there. It is the first time in Shane Beamer's 26 years in coaching that the entire special teams unit is all new. That could be an advantage for Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I would say not having some of the coaches that Virginia Tech had last year is a net positive. Like, I just point blank, I think Virginia Tech is going to be schematically more prepared for this game.
Well, I mean, I was primarily talking about just special teams, and
special teams players and like coaches, like to me, special teams is coaching.
It's all linked.
Yes. It is coaching. And I think it's not like every team has a guy who's really fast who can return kicks. Like that's not a rare skill. You need,
and they're going to have somebody good. We know they're going to have somebody good doing that. I'm just saying it's a lot.
I think Tech has it. Like Tech needs somewhat poetically a lot of Beamer ball here.
Dude, one of the teams is going to return a kick or block a kick or something. And the announcers are going to fall all over themselves to be the first one to say Beamer ball in one way or the other.
I pray to even if Tech loses the game,
it better
I pray to God it is Tech, because that would break my soul.
We need Holloway to do something, man. We need him to bring one back on the punt return team.
You do. And John Love could be an X factor in this game.
He could.
I mean, we saw it against the Miami game, made like what, a 52-yarder at halftime. And if they would have let him kick at the end, at that one time where they tried the fake field goal, Tech might win that game because they would be lined up for a game-winning field goal at the end. And if they rely on John Love, like this is one of my, and this might be changing topics real quick, but this is one of my things that I've teetering back and forth in this game. Brent Pry has been a pretty aggressive coach on fourth down, especially in opponent's territory. And it has somewhat worked out, but not always. And since John Love is as good as we know he is at a kicker, do you just go ahead and take the points? Or do you continue to be aggressive for it on fourth down? I think that is, I don't know what the right answer is.
Yeah.
But the outcomes of those fourth downs, like the 4th and 1, when you have the ball on South Carolina's, 38, I think that's where this game is going to be won and lost for Virginia Tech.
I can't answer that question in full, but I will say this. If we happen to be up 3 late in the 4th and it's 4th down and 3 yards, kind of in the middle, no man's land, but you think Love could hit it?
Like a 52-yarder.
Yeah. Keep in mind, we're up by 3.
Mm-hmm.
Don't kick the field goal. Go for it. Because if you're up 6, you know what Sellers is going to do? He's going to score a touchdown.
So easy.
So just go for it.
That's fair. I think that's the time to get it. But I'm just saying, like, when I'm looking over in my head how this game goes, Tech lost games last year because they didn't turn to John Love. A lot of close games because they didn't turn to John Love. Duke. Like, I think that Duke game would have been different if they would have turned to John Love.
There was a fake field goal against Miami.
There was a fake field goal against Miami. I believe there was a 4th down stop against Rutgers as well. So that's going to be in Brent Pry's brain because they've talked about situational football so much.
Get some damn points on the board because we don't know what the final score of this game is going to be. We can talk about it in just a couple of minutes. But on the matchup as a whole, Sam, we said it on Monday. Their fans, no fear whatsoever. They've been talking shit in the comments on our video from July. Pretty much on every video because they're watching. We thank you for watching.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You're more than
they've
welcome.
been talking shit in the videos, and I get that. You're confident. You're feeling good. We were in your shoes 12 months ago. We were feeling good. People were talking about Tech going to the playoff, believe it or not. And it didn't happen. We fell on our face. I can only hope the same fate happens to the Gamecocks. For all their confidence, Sam, for all of how good they feel, the spread is barely over a touchdown. Barely.
And it has moved progressively towards Virginia Tech. It opened at 10.5. It got all the way down to 7.5. I believe now it's like 8.5, depending on your book. But
I'm seeing 7.5 today for the most part.
That is. I'm looking at Action Network right now. I'm going to refresh it, but no, that's NFL. But yeah, I mean, it's moved towards the Hokies
because it was at 9.5 earlier in the summer. But regardless, other thing I noticed on the betting, 80% of the bets and more are on South Carolina. 80+% of the bets on South Carolina. And I want to say 65% plus of the money. In some areas, depending on the site you look at, it's like 70-80% of the money as well.
Yeah, that is, I will always put an asterisk next to those because I don't know where that data is sourced from all the time. Fair. So I will always put an asterisk next to those. One thing I am looking at is if you look at FanDuel, it is Virginia Tech is plus 7.5 on FanDuel at minus 105. So that means that they are favoring South Carolina a little bit there to the 8.
Okay.
It is really cool. Like, this is a touchdown game is what they're saying.
Yeah.
And you're betting, does South Carolina get that extra field goal or not? That's kind of what the market is betting this at right now.
Have you been watching the over-under? Because the over-under has risen somewhat dramatically since we talked in July.
And that could be a case of, and this is to get a little bit inside baseball, but that could also be a case of higher bets on something like a Virginia Tech team total that would then move the over up a couple points and then would move the line a little bit closer in this game if they're getting it on the Virginia Tech side, because there has been a lot of news about, South Carolina has a bunch of turnover on defense, yada, yada, yada. Kyron Drones healthy.
It was the Takai Heath news being in the starting spot.
Takai
That's what moved it. That's what moved the needle.
That's a little inside baseball about how things can move together in a betting market like that.
All right. In terms of our keys here, both teams have a ton of new guys, new OCs, a lot of change. I expect there to be a little bit of sloppiness in this game early. Despite it being indoors, I still think there's going to be some sloppiness. And pressure on Sellers from our defensive line is probably the biggest key to the game. I think that has to be it, because you can't let him get out of the pocket too much. You can't let him run all over the place. Sam Seifkis needs to get creative. He needs to bring defenders from any and all angles, be aggressive, but not lose contain. It's the ultimate balance, right? How do you be aggressive and not lose contain on a guy like Sellers? Well, Seifkis has to figure it out.
Yeah, and I can't tell you with confidence that oh yeah, Sam Seifkis will figure this out, because we don't know. It is maybe in a game of question marks, the ultimate question mark is, what does Virginia Tech look on defense? Because we have no idea. We follow this team pretty closely. I have no idea what formations they're going to run out in. I don't know if they're going to go 4-2-5 a bunch, if they're going to go classic 4-3, if they're going to do a 3-down line, if they're going to do a bear front like the old Bud Foster days.
Bear front against Ohio State, man, double eagle.
I mean, it worked pretty well in that game, and that was a decent Ohio State team. If I do
sure
remember.
Was.
That team won the national championship, by the way, for South Carolina fans. But I need to see the strategic Sam Seifkis, which is, boy, that's a tongue twister.
Yeah, man.
I need to see that in action before I bank on it.
Yeah,
I'll say that as a little preview to my pick.
On offense for Virginia Tech, a lot of it comes down to the offensive line. How much have they have improved? We have enough skill talent, in my personal opinion, to compete in the game. It's about, is Stewart just destroying drones the entire game? Because if he is, it's going to be a long day. Mm-hmm. You need to keep drones and the running backs away from him. You need to get KD moving, allow him to make plays with his legs, extending the play like we saw against Miami. And if he's effective in the run game, which we've seen Monty show in the past, even the recent past, that he likes to run his quarterbacks, it can open up everything else for our offense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking back to when Kyron has looked at his best, it has been when Tech is a very balanced team. And when we're not asking him to be Superman, he is just organically Superman. You're not saying, Kyron, go run the ball 25 times. Now, the Tulane game and the bowl game is a little bit different because of the weather, but it's like that Miami game. You just play your game, and he is the type of player who will just go out and make the plays. And I also think what could be really big for this offense is, we haven't talked about him, but Benji Gosnell is the kind of player who can make big plays in big games. And he's had the full healthy offseason. We've talked about this. This is not a tight end heavy offense, but he's one of the guys that Tech will probably rely on in close situations. Those fourth downs, that 4th and 3, if you need a guy to leak out on a little 3-yard out route, I'm picking Benji Gosnell to win that matchup.
Dude, I love that. God, you just got me juiced up. That's perfect.
I'm picking it. That's your look. I can see it now. You run the read option a bit. You watch the defender. You roll him outside. You flick to Benji Gosnell. If they just do that 10 times, football will be pretty easy, Pete.
4-star talent. 4-star talent. Benji Gosnell with a healthy offseason. Absolutely love it. Against this secondary that South Carolina is running out there, I don't expect us to carve them up. It will be plays like that, kind of go into a safety blanket, Kyron making a really good pass in traffic or something. But we need to run to win. Our offensive line the last 2-3 years has been way better in the run game than in the pass game. We need to run to win, whether that's Kyron or the trio or duo of backs that we decide to use. That's absolutely key. And whichever quarterback can make more plays under pressure, because both will be under pressure. I guarantee you that. Both will be under pressure. The explosives or the special team play, it's going to be the difference. Like
Yeah.
some random 1 or 2 plays is going to be the difference in this game.
And under Brent Pry, those plays have gone to the other team literally every time. Literally every single time it has gone to the other team. A random, a field goal snap over the kicker's head, scoop and score that loses the game to ODU, that goes to the other team. A safety in the end zone because your right tackle gets blown to, out of Middle Earth, gets blown to Mordor, that loses you that game.
Remember the Duke game comes to mind, but also the Rutgers game, Syracuse. There's too many choices. The Syracuse game where like we looked like we were good, and then all of a sudden they scored in like a millisecond. I mean, It's always an explosive that kills us. And last year we gave up 15 plays of 40 plus yards or more when good teams give up like 5 or 4.
It was pathetic, to be quite honest with you. And that's why I do think you will see Virginia Tech in a bit more of the NFL style shell defense, a little bit more too high safety, a little bit more cover 4. Keep the ball in front of you type football from this.
I think Sam Seifkis really wants to limit the explosives. I think that's a key focus. In addition to getting bigger along the line, it's about reducing the explosive plays because they are so indicative of wins and losses. They really, really are.
Mm-hmm.
Just some numbers before we get to our final thoughts on the opportunity Tech has here. Shane is 3-1 in openers with a loss to UNC 2 years ago. He started 2-6 in 2023, 3-3 in 21, and 3-3 in 24. From Pat Finn, South Carolina 0-3 in their last 3 neutral site games of note. And Tech has won 6 straight Sunday games in a row. I can't even think of all those games, but I guess UNC would be one, FSU, probably West Virginia, right? Like that would be another one.
I think so.
But I'm going to take Pat's word for it. That's
Yes.
6-0 in Sunday in our last 6 Sunday games. I also had one thing that I sent to you a couple weeks back. The over-under for South Carolina on the year is 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
My 2 favorite handicappers that I follow, Bud Elliott and our buddy Colby Dan, who was on the show last week. My 2 favorite handicappers that I listen to on a regular basis to get my picks week to week, they both took the under on South Carolina. And it's 7.5, Sam, for a team that has playoff hopes to see my 2 guys that I trust taking the under. I mean, that can only make you feel good about this matchup.
It makes me feel like this isn't as much of a slam dunk win for South Carolina as we thought in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also a reason why you're seeing the line kind of creep a little bit towards Virginia Tech, simply because this is not a gimme win for South Carolina by any means. Are they the favorite? Of course. Should they win the game? Probably, yeah. But this is not a gimme win. And I think there's a lot of extenuating circumstances with this South Carolina team in terms of the pressure, in terms of the second half of the season being where they hit their stride normally. The turnover that they've had on defense and losing so many NFL guys. There is reason for optimism if you're wearing orange and maroon. I'll say that.
Absolutely. And there's also something to the idea that football teams in college, there's the year after the year. There's a lot of times where you have this team that you expect to win 9 or 10 games. They kind of don't live up to expectations, aka us last year.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next year, they do put it together. They take those 1-score losses and they turn them into wins. And all of a sudden, it's the year after the year, and you're good. That's another narrative or storyline for the Hokies fans to be hopeful. Like, I really think someone put a tweet out today. I think it was CFB Kings. Like, it's not just last year. It's the year before too. Like, so many close losses. 1-12 in prize tenure. We know what the number is. If those are different and they become different as time goes on, we're looking at a different program.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't add anything more to it because there's nothing else to say. Like, that's the story of Virginia Tech football over the past 5 years.
So there is an opportunity to change the narrative in general on Virginia Tech football week 1, the opposite of what we did a year ago in Nashville. And not just Pry winning a big game, but also potentially overcoming the one-score thing. Because if we were to win this game, Sam, it's going to be a one-score game. I can't possibly see us winning by 10 or
I
more.
mean, the
in this
only
game.
if you're gonna like, let's live in Candyland. Like, if that were the case, your hope is a special teams play and you win the turnover battle. And schematically, what Sam Seifkes does on defense is too much for Lenore Sellers and that offense to adjust to mid game. That's your hope. That's your if you're going to go rosy gold Virginia Tech, that's your hope. I don't necessarily see that playing out, but I think if you were to simulate this game 100 times, that probably happens like 10 of them, you know.
So I talked a little bit about this on X, and I might just kind of read through a couple of these tweets because I phrased it in such a way that I like. And if you'll be so kind as to indulge me, I might just read a couple of these. It's not going to take long.
I'll sit back and indulge. Not a problem.
Everyone knows that we have Pry and the AD in a prove it year. That is not news. And it's a shame because I believe that if Pry had come in to Tech with the staff that he has now, it would have played out a lot differently. And I think you're probably of that same opinion. Nevertheless, this is where we are, Sam. A coach heading into year 4 with no juice on the trail, hoping that a staff overhaul can breathe new life into a program that's been down for a decade plus. It may work, but changing the narrative enough to save him requires something big. Prize bullet is Atlanta, in my opinion. If you're able to beat South Carolina with all the hype around their program, it would be a bizarro version of what happened in Nashville last year. It would bring all the casuals back. It would give you something to sell to recruits again. And if you don't beat them, it's a loss heading into a very difficult Vandy game, and every question about whether Pry can be the guy persists for weeks. Tension mounts, and if things go poorly, it could be over before Thanksgiving. Even a 7-5 season for Coach Pry does nothing for you in recruiting, which we know has not been going all that well at the high school level. We would have the same questions heading into year 5 as the talent level diminishes. So with the time for Pry is week 1. It is the best opportunity he will have all season to preserve his job security, and it would inject a desperately needed jolt of energy into this program. Beat Shane, change everything. That is my message.
That's it. Like, this game is potentially a program changer, and I don't say that lightly for Virginia Tech. Like, directionally, this could be a program changing game. Yeah, like,
do you have a prediction?
Of course I have a prediction. I mean, I want it so bad. I do think there is, again, like in my mental 100 simulations of this game, right? I already said, I think 10 of them, like, Tech just beats them handedly, right? I would say in another few, you might have a 1-score Virginia Tech win in a close, hard-fought game where the ball finally, for once, just for once, bounces Virginia Tech's way in the fourth quarter. I do, however, feel like, and I people aren't going to like this, but are we doing predictions? Are we there?
We're here.
27-21 South Carolina. Prove me that you can win a 1-score game. I think this will be a close game. I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring than the over-under that's at about 52.5 right now. Prove it that you can win it in the fourth quarter, because it will come down to the fourth quarter.
My prediction is I think we're going to capitalize on the opportunity.
Let's go, Pete. Let's go. Let's go.
And give me a 1-score win, Sam, because I not only want to change the narrative of Tech, I want to change the narrative for Pry. I want to change all the narratives in one night. A ranked SEC team in a neutral site. Win the goddamn game. You want to be a big-time program? Win the goddamn game. This is your opportunity. You're not going to get a better opportunity than this. I'm so sick and tired of wondering when this team is going to be back. Last year, Nashville, if you participated in that game as a player or a coach, you should be fucking pissed. You should be fucking pissed about it. And this is your redemption chance. This is really your only chance at redemption, to go down, beat a better SEC team at a neutral site. So win the goddamn game. I'm sick of this shit, Sam. Win the goddamn game. I think we can. I felt it in July when we previewed, but I'm not gonna come off of this. This team has the talent to beat a team like South Carolina. They think they're indestructible, and that's fine. But we can win the game. I think we're gonna win the game. If I'm wrong, well, fuck me. I thought we were gonna beat Vandy last year too. I'm still here.
You were a little cautious about
I was
Vanderbilt.
cautious, but at the end of the day, I predicted a win, and so did you, and so did everybody else.
In a 6-day span, everything can change in Blacksburg. Everything. In a 6-day span, you can change everything.
Yeah. You really,
it's up to
really can.
It's up to you. You got a neutral site game and a home game. It is up to you. Like, there it is. It's so weird because none of them are ACC games. None of them are rivalry games. This is a 2-game season. It really does.
I mean, we talked about it endlessly this summer. Pry cannot go 0-2. He cannot. Even if we lose to South Carolina, if you lose to Vandy, he's cooked. It's done. You cannot lose to Vandy back-to-back seasons, the second one being at home. It would be worse than losing to Rutgers back-to-back seasons.
I don't know about that. That's pretty tough. Like it is 2 games. It's 2 games. And you know what? Here's the thing too of this game in Atlanta. If you go back and longtime Hokies like you and I, Pete, we know Virginia Tech played 2 national champion caliber Alabama teams in Atlanta. They lost both of those games. Tech was a pretty good team those years, right? I mean, you had guys like Tyrod on those teams. David Wilson was on those teams. Darren Evans, like great players.
I went to the first one, 2009. I was at that one.
So many times Virginia Tech hasn't won in these spots. Now, we have seen them in the Frente years win those games, but those teams that they beat, Florida State, UNC, West Virginia, etc., they didn't end up living up to the hype. Like, this is your opportunity as Virginia Tech to finally play spoiler. I really hope they do. I think it is going to come down to like an offensive possession and a defensive possession in the fourth quarter. Can Virginia Tech win those 2 possessions? That's what the game's going to come down to. I hope they can, and I hope I'm wrong. Prove it to me on the field.
Did you see what CF Budge said this week?
If CF Budge is correct, like he might be the first person I personally message after this game, if Tech, because Tyler has been on the Hokies on this game, and he's like, has no Hokie affiliation at all. He's an Arizona guy. I mean, he went to Arizona State, but he lives in Arizona.
Right. There's no reason he would ever.
He's on the Hokies. And I'm like, dude, if he's on the Hokies, I'm on the Hokies. My official prediction, 27-21 South Carolina, but 9.5. I feel they should cover 9.5. This Virginia Tech team has not lost by 2 touchdowns or more in a very, very, very long time.
God, I hope that doesn't happen. Oh, man. All right, let's just pick our last couple lines. I mentioned this earlier. We're going to pick the lines from the two deep pick 'em. Texas at Ohio State. Now, these lines, like I said, are from ESPN, so they're different than probably some of the stuff you've seen online. But Texas at Ohio State, 2.5 point favorites in this one. Who you got, Sam?
If I'm picking a line, give me Texas.
I am also taking Texas. LSU at Clemson. Clemson 2.5 point favorites in this one.
Give me the Tigers. The Clemson Tigers.
The Clemson Tigers. I'm on Clemson too. All right, we got the group think going on. Number 6, Notre Dame at number 10, Miami. Miami, 1.5 point underdogs. This is on Sunday night.
Give me Miami. I think I picked Miami. I'm trying to remember who I picked. I think give me Miami.
I'm taking Miami.
Yeah.
Plus 1.5. I like their chances to win that game. Syracuse against Tennessee. Tennessee 12.5 point favorites. Also in Atlanta the day before. Who you got?
Tennessee by a gajillion. I'm not betting it because
How are we picking all the same? I'm also taking Tennessee.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I think this is one that I didn't personally bet because I do think there is a world where Tennessee sleepwalks in this game.
Oh, yeah.
But
there is.
Tennessee should win this game handily.
I mean, I just don't know how Syracuse is going to score. That's the problem. Or defend.
I think that could be an issue.
Alabama at Florida State is the last game from the pick'em that we will pick. Florida State 12.5 point underdogs. Only 12.5 on the pick'em.
I mean, I took Alabama like 3 months ago.
I know.
So
So we're going to go 5 for 5, which means we're going to get at least 3 of those wrong. But 5 for 5, we're the same. Bama, Tennessee, Miami, Clemson, and Texas. There are a couple other lines I just want to point out. GT at Colorado, 4.5 is the last line I saw. Colorado, the home dog, 4.5 points. What are you doing on that one?
This is a weird one because there's been a lot of Georgia Tech hype, and I'm not sure how much of it is totally warranted since they were a team that had some not great games last year. I mean, goodness gracious, Virginia Tech beat them by 2 scores. An interesting stat for this game, Haynes King against man coverage had a 54.1 passing grade. That was 126th in the country. Against zone coverage, he had an 87.7 passing grade. That was 5th best in the country. Colorado runs man coverage at the 4th highest rate in the country.
Beep bop boop bop beep bop.
The beep bop boop bop machine. I think there's a extenuating circumstances here where Colorado could win this game. I am not betting it. I'm sitting back and watching.
I'm taking Colorado plus 4.5. TCU at UNC. UNC 3.5 point dogs at home in that crazy home environment of Keenan. Monday night game, last game of the weekend. Who do you got in this one?
I hope TCU beats them by 1,000 points.
I think TCU gets it done here. Nebraska at Cincinnati. Cincinnati 6.5 point dogs in Arrowhead. I'm taking Cincinnati.
I thought I was going to be different than you in that one. Gosh,
you got Cincy too?
I'll go Nebraska for the purpose of it, but I think Cincinnati is going to be a better team.
You don't have to bet it if you don't want.
I have the over in this game, and I have an alt over in this game. I think you're going to see a lot of punches.
I like that. I like that over. That's good. And then Auburn at Baylor. I think we're both on Baylor. I really like their quarterback, and a lot of the money is coming on Auburn, apparently. So,
I have bad vibes on Auburn. A lot of bad vibes on them. And Sawyer Robertson is so good.
How could
Sawyer Robertson, the quarterback for Baylor, is really, really fun, really solid. Like he's if you're like a dark horse Heisman candidate, Sawyer Robertson might be that guy.
All right. To close this thing out, Sam, you remember last year we're previewing Vandy, and we're listening to all their pods. We're prepping.
Yeah.
There's no good news coming out of Vandy. Absolutely none. And if you're a South Carolina person trying to hear about Tech this week, and you're hearing about a DWI, and you're hearing about an injury to some guys here and there, nicked up running backs, nicked up offensive linemen, no good news. What happened when we went to Nashville?
Jerry Kill and Diego Pavia.
We got our butts kicked for 30 minutes, and then we tried to come back, and it didn't work. Let's have the opposite. I want opposite day. Sunday's opposite day.
Are we naming the weeks and opposite day?
Opposite Sunday?
I'll tell you, I there's a world where it happens, and it just has to be this world. You only need it to happen once.
One multiverse.
One time.
It needs to hit in this universe. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, Sam. We did a lot of talking this summer. A lot of talking. And it's over. This is our last show before the weekend. We may do some like live stuff or whatever, but no true podcast until Monday. And man, it's here, dude. It's here.
I'm gonna enjoy not talking to you tomorrow, Pete. I'll tell you that. Because I'll get down to Atlanta.
I'll take that as a compliment.
And that is a compliment. It's going to be a heck of a weekend no matter what. Really excited to see everybody. I'm excited for the event at Park Tavern. I'm excited for the event at Beer Garden before the game. I'm excited to be in the press box for that game. What an opportunity. What a blessing. College football is back. It's the best time of year.
We did our job this summer. Now it's time for the Hokies to do their job.
Absolutely.
We did our job to the nth degree. So make sure you subscribe. Sons of Saturday on YouTube and the 2 Deep feed on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And until next time, when we're hopefully celebrating a big win over South Carolina, go Hokies.
Go Hokies.